Now, the recent severe thunderstorms in Mbeki district in Mpumalanga and Johannesburg cannot be directly linked to climate change. This is all according to Tshepho Ngobeni from the Weather Service, who was addressing the National Press Club in Pretoria on Thursday. Earlier this week, residents in parts of Johannesburg were hit by golf ball-sized hailstones, leading to destruction to property. Joining us is Tshepho Ngobeni, who's a Senior Manager Disaster Risk Reduction at the South African Weather Service. A very good afternoon to you, Tshepho. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, what should we make of this growing incidence of hazardous weather? Is South Africa expected to see more?
It's very much difficult to say. But according to our climate change studies and the global warming, we know that this kind of phenomena, severe weather, will occur more frequent, and if they occur, they will also be intense. So we are expecting the frequency to increase as we go through the global change, according to climate change studies.
And does the South African Weather Service work with the government ahead of instances where there are predictions of the devastating weather events? I mean, what we saw in Johannesburg, and in Mpumalanga was quite frightening.
Yes, we do actually work with the government, more especially the National Disaster Management Centers and also disaster centers at provincial, municipal and district level. Actually, the warning that we give is a joint collaboration between South African Weather Service and National Disaster Management Center. And when we have this kind of severe weather events, we disseminate information also to disaster centers that have also the responsibility, according to their act, to disseminate the information further to people at the ground. But also, we sometimes, now and then, we have what we call ICDM, Intergovernmental Committee, which is led by ministers, the Minister of Culture, and also other ministers from different departments, where we sit around the table and we brief them about what is coming, what is an impact, and what is expected in the coming few days. Yes, we do that, and also the Department of Communication, we also communicate information to them.
So in assessing frequency, how common would you say the hailstorm like the one we experienced in Gauteng on Monday will be?
The one that we experienced in Gauteng, according to our CSIR IMATEC studies, 80% of the occurrence of this hail, usually they don't cause damage. Only 20%, which is 1/5 of the hailstorm in Gauteng, will cause a damage like the one we've encountered on Monday, the 13th of November. But they are not uncommon. They are relatively uncommon, but not rare. As I'm telling you now, I think the last one that we had, which was having a golf ball to tennis size, was on the 28th of November 2013. And before that, we had one in 1 November 1985. And going back, I think it was in January 1980. So you can see that we usually get them, but the one that are very much large, because in terms of the hailstorm, they can have a diameter that ranges from 5 to 50 millimeters. But the one which are damaging, which are very much big, they are very, very much relatively uncommon.
And when do we know whether hazardous weather is a result of climate change or...
It is as a result of the weather cycle, because we have to know that the climate change, it needs extensive studies that run over the years. Most of the time, 10 years, it will be relatively good information. It will give you relative good information that you can use to make conclusive decisions. But we cannot say that one particular severe thunderstorms, and we say that because it occurred and because it's climate change. But what we know in terms of the climate change is the intensity and the frequency of these events, severe weather events, they will occur.
how do we factor in the impact of the El Nino weather pattern and the implications that could have on, let's say, the agricultural sectors? Because as you and I speak, farmers are already being urged to be vigilant and to now conserve water as the coming season is expected to bring below average rainfall.
Yes, I think that's right. They have to be conservative. That's the message that we gave to the press lab yesterday, that the agricultural community, they have to be conservative because we are now in El Nino. And El Nino in South Africa usually result in below normal average rainfall, which is opposite to La Nina, because La Nina we get above normal rainfall. So you can understand that if you're expecting below normal rainfall, we are still going to get a system that are producing rain, but on average that rainfall, it will be less. So the people, the farmers community, they have to be vigilant. They have to plan accordingly and check what type of crops they can invest into, taking into consideration that there is a possibility that we might be experiencing, there is a higher possibility that we might be experiencing below normal rainfall. And we know that the farmers depends on rain for their crops. They depend on rain from their livestock.
And very lastly, I mean, the topic around tornadoes, we love to talk about them, we capture them on camera, but exactly how common are these in South Africa?
Tornadoes in South Africa, to be frank, they occur far more frequent than previously thought. And the provinces which are particularly susceptible to this occurrence of tornado include the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Northeastern Free State, Gauteng, as well as Highveld of Mpumalanga. Currently, Weather Service receives at least 10 reports of tornado annually, which is more than what we expected. But one of the factors that I've emphasized yesterday is, although we have these tornado occurrences, it makes a difference where does it occur. For example, in a desert area where it's not populated or it's not heavily habited, you can find that we have tornado, but because they don't affect people or there are no people there to observe them, then they are not reported. Most of them which are reported are the ones that are in a heavily habited and populated area. For example, if tornado happen in Joburg, obviously it will cause a damage, it will be reported, we will know about it, which is contrary to tornado that happen in a desert, like or semi-desert area, like for example in Northern Cape, where we won't be able to get a report of that tornado.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time and weighing in on the discussion. Tshepho Ngobeni, Senior Manager, Disaster Risk Reduction at the South African Weather Service.